exactly at what the battle bus looks like and how these people will drop out. Tuning in with Clix's POV once again. If we are having the option to look at Grotto once more, I just want to know if Tfue and Scope are uncontested. As well as I know that these guys are at 0 points, but where are Thresh and Bank before we finally have to leave these storylines behind and focus on the top spots here endgame?
100%. And also some split success out of the rig, even though, I mean, Doves and Mega are up at the top, the Vivid and Nanolites, splitting that with them and finding points time after time again. Is Calc actually going to split this even more? I'm not sure who came here. Remember, they were actually contested last game. Is it Ziff and Massive? No, it looks like they're gliding by towards Misty Meadows. Saf and Zayt uncontested at Sweaty Sands. And, hey, man, 27 points right now. They are not that far from the top. And they start to look like the old Saf and Zayt. And we saw the winners of EU were from Sweaty Sands.
Yeah, they were actually contested for their drop. Over here, though, for Saf and Zayt, it only took 4 weeks and then 1 more heat stage for them not to get contested and finally have their own spot. We have the POV of Grotto there. Balo, I'm not sure if you saw a contestation, but from what I saw, you did. Do you think it's the same duo?
Yes, I think it is. I'm wondering. In all the heats that I saw, Legedian, not heats, but in all the games I saw of customs for Legedian and Armon, they were there every time in warm-ups. In warm-ups, like, sure, there was nothing on the line, so it didn't matter, but so they would go back no matter what, but here it matters. I'm curious if, I don't know, they just can't break that mold, or they can't just, they can't get the confidence to go somewhere else, because it's important that that happens. By the way, I don't see a single team missing out of this entire lobby. It's like we're chilling here, Scoped and Tfue. And they've already got the Vault and the minigun.
I was going to mention if the duos add up, because right now might be solos missing here and there with just 94 people left alive.
Teams, so it's
we're chilling?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. I knew my math wasn't that bad, but we should see 96 people.
Yes. We didn't talk much about it, by the way, but Scope to Tfue, 10th place last game and 9 eliminations. That's a lot.
Really? Yeah.
And that's why they're at 19. I was wondering, I looked at the score of this game and I'm like, hold on a second. How did they do this? How'd they pull this out? They're not far from the top. 8th place. Things are looking good. Again, I have to question, okay, Grandma Teats, what is that far in the distance? Because I see Legedian. And we've seen this before. I think it might be just like the replay mode showing somebody way in the distance or something like that.
Yeah. Well, with Grandma Teats, like, he always comes up top on that Grotto skull just to look for some shots at Dirty and see who's actually rotating out. So that's business as usual. I think he's actually very close and on top of that skull right now. No, he's actually in Grotto.
And they're looking at the fight. So it's now 3 ways. Where's Mikey?
I mean, we talked about changes in the back 3 games. I didn't mean like this, but I guess you have to do something different. If it's aggressing off your position, it's going into the Grotto. He built all the way out here, so a little bit telegraphed, and then roll straight back. Okay, interesting strat. Grandma.
He took a boat here from Dirty Docks to look for tags. Hey, that's okay. Like, that's a Storm Surge strat. You called it out. He looks for the tags through the nose of the Grotto. And clearly not getting the opportunity to get anything by surprise on Scoped and Tfue. Maybe he was expecting Legedian and Armon not to be there so that they would have Scoped and Tfue a little bit more lackadaisical. That's why he attempted that this game, but also could be the zone. You see these strats. These surge strats can get very complicated. I think back to squads and how many different teams had different options and different opportunities to do things where they would push certain spots just for tags and do it early, way before they've even finished looting, just to make sure that they don't have to worry about it on that first zone rotation or on that second zone rotation.
Yeah, by the 5th game in the EU, we saw people just leaving their spots with a green burst AR. moving over to just have a say a little minimally in a fight. On West, we saw it with Godku and Vayne in the heats. They actually ended up finding Elims, then got their entire space just divvied out even more. Who knows, if Grandma Teats found a little bit of a beam straight to a knock, they could have had all of Grotto, luckily. But it'll be business as usual there.
And from last game, I want to know how many floppers and Slurpfish Jack and Acorn get out of what they're playing at Slurpy Swamps. Because that high ground take was a thing of wonders. We'll see if it can happen again in this game. Hey, the Banana Boys!
It's XNB and Ved. And yesterday we saw their hyper gameplay on height. Today, though, they've been low ground majority of the time. A lot of people saying they just got lucky coming to this position, but 5 points are already above a lot of top duos, including Grandma Teats, who we saw before in the first 3 games. Only up at 2 points.
Hyper's one way to call it. Their communication's up on height. They did win a game yesterday. And they also, XNB himself, clutched up 1 versus 2 against, who was that? Posick and, I don't remember exactly who the recipient of that one was, but it was nasty. Here we get a look at Unknown and Ronaldo and a look at Slurpy Swamps. I think I'd rather see Jack and Acorn's perspective at this point, because unless Unknown and Ronaldo change something, and they might not be too relevant in this next couple of games. There's still 3 left. As we're in game 4, they're sneaking on Jack and Acorn. Ronaldo looking. I thought he found them for a second, but no. They're gone. They're long gone. Meanwhile, these guys are not out of the running. 19 points for Booga and Stretch. No changes since the last game. But still in 9th place. They got 4 eliminations in the last game, so I misspoke. They were at 15, so a small rise, and this is important. 20th place. We saw them fall on the side of that zone.
I feel like if these guys are uncontested, you could literally just run a recording of Booga on top.
It's the same thing
beams,
every time.
We see the same PLV every game. Now Mega and Dubs shoot straight out. No early elims yet. Out of the rig. Vivid and Nano, not sure exactly where they are, but nowhere to be found. They have TNT as a loot as well, so I think maybe leaving that Boombo behind, but having that launch pad. And oh my god, Clicks asked for an update on Thresh. Here he is, having a say at stopping these mid-ground phenoms early on in their tracks. I guess he'll back up, but won't have the HP. Storm's nowhere close, so it's not that big of a deal, but will never be above 100, it looks like, by that much. Will Thresh continue is the question. No. Even though at 0 points, he's going to still be playing in a sensible way, which is very smart. And if you do come into a big fight, just look at the mini-map. So many duos waiting for that third party. At least one of these arrows on every duo looking towards Clicks and Calc right now. Possibly all of them focusing at the same time. What happened here? These guys had Lazy Lake. Now suddenly, 10 duos side by side.
I think this is centrality of it all. How many teams are trying to post up when this mid-range mountains are in this center of first zone? A lot of teams post up on it, and a lot of teams try to get the tags. But Thresh and Bank not opting for that. They move down below. Here, peek at Scoped and Tfue. I believe Tfue got a long-range snipe on Ziff just a second ago. I think now double heavy opportunity. It's possible. There's a full-on build fight breaking out on the top of that mountain. They break it open to see if they can peek in. Mega with an early elim onto Snaker as well.
Man, and Snaker not being there in the end game means that Height now has room to actually put pressure down on every other duo that's rotating, because these guys, for some reason, somehow, who knows why, get second Height and then never move off. Can Knifer somehow survive, though? Not at all, because Unknown and Ronaldo are here in a matter of just 2 seconds. You count it out loud. That fight instantly ends. Unknown does not miss, no matter how many points he has.
And yes, they're not going to get the loot from that, but I think Dubs and Mega are happy to see the fact that Unknown and Ronaldo take that kill, that Elim, and back off, hopefully. How does he have the Boombo?
What? Okay.
Did something change?
I mean, we saw them come out of the rig. There's this one thing at the rig. Sometimes TNTina doesn't spawn all the way on it. She spawns very far away on the shore. So,
but still, we saw Unknown and Ronaldo. They play in Slurpy Swamps. They must have changed something up and gone to grab that, but they don't have the loot. They don't have any of the card or anything like that. So it's just a little interesting. Because we saw this in EU too. Remember, there's a random occurrence of a team that should not have had the Boombo having the Boombo.
Yeah.
And we couldn't quite track that story all the way from the start. So, regardless, I was saying how Dubs and Mega were happy that that Elim was finished off for them. They didn't have to worry about it. They're not going to get the loot, but they will end up not having to engage or fight Ronaldo or an Unknown at all.
And I feel like this is good for the whole server because although Unknown will hit every single Boombo shot, he's going to be 744 damage above the first check with just one elimination. They're not going to be able to finish out fights. They'll have a good say on taking people's shields out, but no one will be eliminated. And although that might be a good thing for a lot of duos, it'll be bad for people like Chap and AV who want that player count to go down. We saw last game, Chap went down to Storm Surge. AV could not alleviate the pressure. Chaotic and Nosh finally coming online. We talk about Elims affecting the leaderboard. They finally get to have a little bit of survival, but at a price to Crimson Kaz. Kaz actually gets the shot back on the Nosh.
But uncharacteristic here from Booga and Stretch below Surge, as you mentioned, Chap and AV struggles. They are split, so I think that they'll be able to get back up as, yes, Stretch does get a tag. Booga looking for one on P-God and Elige above them as well, but also more importantly, scouting to see if there's anybody coming up this hill where they can get more. And I think Booga is so interested in P-God and Elige because they could get max potential from this, possibly multiple shots firing off and connecting. Soul and Dolb's in the back of that too.
Elige and P-God though are one of those duos that feel like they have more than 200 HP in total. Every time people get tags on them, every time they get affected in their bases, they just hold their ground, they stay. And then heal right back up super fast. Right now, Booga's Stretch, this is super uncharacteristic. Just 38 damage above Storm Surge, so apparently Booga never hit any snipes.
It doesn't matter though, man.
Really?
I've seen them below Surge one time in their entire history of playing, at least in squads and duos here in the actual heats and finals. These guys, they have such a good plan, man. You can see how calm Booga is. He's not firing off shots at every single person. He's just getting the guaranteed shot. Same thing with Stretch, and they clutch in. I don't think they have to worry about it too much, especially given the position. Speaking of position, Scope and Tfue completely out-positioned against Legedian and Armon. They get their revenge. I don't think they get the credit for that and the point for that. But look how many people are outside of zone on Lazy Lake.
They're all clustered, and if we go by the patterns of game 1, 2, and 3, no one ends up moving after they get based up, especially when zone is so close. Oh my god, a big elimination in the feed. It's, I think, Storm Surge taking out Shark, Knight getting taken out by Grandma. Two different duos having a say in that fight. Chap also right beside, I think, the same placement as and the same points was Goosh, who gets taken out. And now suddenly people are dropping down. This is the pattern in NA East. When you see Surge, people panic. Try to go for quick box fights. On the other side of the map, anywhere but Lazy Lake, people are just dropping like flies.
And look how close they're actually all together. Scopes in the background. Did he get picked up? He might have. No, sorry, it was Tfue who fell, didn't it? Regardless, Chap and AV now well above Surge. When they came out that bush, they must have definitely gotten a pick, and they have that elimination. And a good way to measure things. Trying to make the safe picks, you definitely want to pick those who have the most trips to weekly finals, as right now the teams in the top 10 clearly showing off that pattern, and I think that tends to the experience of this call. Tends to the experience of the players in here right now playing in finals like these. The weekly finals, yes, not necessarily the biggest pressure, the biggest stakes, But what is just the experience of playing in games like these, stacked as you see Ronaldo and Unknown again struggling to get good positioning, struggling to get over the hump and up over the mountain.
Maybe they're just so used to having an elimination base after elimination base where they get a refresh, then move on to another refresh. With teams of this caliber, it's hard to have that happen. For AV, though, it looks like Scoped might have been the individual to be right there and take him out. Beside him on the other side, it's Legendian and Armand who are also alive, so there's going to be a lot of hot loot available all the way around. A minigun is being sprayed, but I'm not sure by who. Scoped is there to take that elimination onto AV, but now Legendian and Scoped are box to box, not in the grotto, but next to Grotto Chap up top.
What is going on? All those combine to have a big old box fight on the edge of zone. A multi-way affair. As Chap, for some reason, has got himself involved, and AV goes down. Zone continues to pull north. And Legedian a snipe onto Mega. His Dubs could be able to pick him up as they finish a fight right on time. Dubs against Skittles. And his teammate, yes, they're going to be able to get that pickup, so Legedian not able to hit the double snipe. Hopefully they have some. Another team who's down with the player. It's Scented. Scoped box fighting him too. How did Scoped get all the way over here in the blink of an eye? He's gonna get under the cone. Try to get edgy right before he falls. If he does, that's the end. No reboot gonna be possible. And he's not letting him go. There's the stairs again. And then he's a brief instant. Scoped is leaving it, or is he going to the side? Yes, he's going to the side wall, and that's the end. But also the end of Scoped. And I have to wonder if that was all worth it to stop one player from getting the revive off. Did he need an impact? I didn't see his materials. He might have needed something. Maybe he was anticipating being below Surge when it comes to 5th.
I think it was just purely momentum all the time as well when Tifu's down. Big question also, how? We get to see Scope pop off, but with an early mid-game frag first. So if that's not happening, he's directly affecting the success rates of Edgy and Scented right now. Although Scented gets a lot of loot to use, it's at the cost of not having a dual partner. There's no reboots in sight, so he'll have a solo play and not going to knock him down. He's a great player. The most success I've seen these guys have is together on low. Him individually, this will be a big test. And we've seen Aqua perform by himself on height with a minigun. Scented on low. It'll be a taller question to answer. If there is someone that can have a response, it is Scented.
Boston Tristan hip, not too bad. Booger and Stretch also. Acorn down to the hands of Soul, and look at that position for them. Unknown Ronaldo did make it in. That Jack and Acorn were the people who were right behind them, and you could see Dolbs and Soul right underneath Booger and Stretch. They're going to continue to look for this, and for good reason too. They know that it's Jack. Did he actually pull loot? He had a harpoon. But nothing else, everything else falls right down back in the ravine. But hey, they got the credits and also take out one of the top duos.
Now the leaderboards get even more so affected, but at the same time you have to remember, while this is all going on, the people with 10 points, the people with 15 are still rising up.
Curious where Dubs and Mega ended up after Dubs got the pickup of Mega. Jedian didn't get the snipe on him, but where does that leave them in terms of towards the next? Stretch and Booger right on the edge of zone. They could just inch their way in. Not too worried about that as Clicks is down and out to the hands of Mikey. Here comes the reposition. Dubs is up high. No materials. He lands right on the backside of Stretch, and I think he's now off of this mountain as well. Dolbs gets involved too, and they might now have a lot of say into two of the top duos in the leaderboards. Both Acorn and Jack, and now Dubs and Mega are falling to the spray of so many teams who want to get their hands involved in this one.
And at the same time being taken out, they were tied together as well. Legendian finally finding his feet off the ground, takes down an opponent, but then instantly gets eliminated himself. Leo gets a few too, but then Gandhi gets taken out as a cost. Lazar P is the one to find that clutch. Leo's still alive though, and then Ziff. There's so much back and forth, so many box fights. So you can see exactly where they're happening in so many places. Usually everything is just clustered, clenched up together. Now there's a little bit more separation, everyone moving more so in towards the center of the circle. No longer are we just a quarter in, and there's so many different layers where these box fights can happen. People up top, obviously the most comfortable, Unknown by himself, getting very irritated but can't find a way to find and scratch, itch that relief away. He gets etched down to 2 HP, still getting focused, 5 builds left. Has to find a cheeky angle, it's not enough. He gets picked off by Vix, who's also in the top 10.
And this is a brutal game for all those looking to edge their way up and push themselves way up in the lead. I think for right now, Dubs and Mega have fallen. Have Knight and Rogue Shark fallen as well. Those were the guys who were tied at the top. Avery and Has the Great in the background, they're looming. There's Mikey as Scented gets a nice beam onto him. A good start. Booga and Stretch looking very, very good on the side of the zone as it goes across this entire ravine. Nobody going to take the top side. They're all going to opt to actually play the low ground. A couple people connecting. Paper and Jamper are going to be the people who take height, I believe. Booga and Stretch reconnect to them as well, but for the time being, it is going to be Paper and Jamper.
His visuals actually on the dead side of zone, coming up all the way on low, controlling everything for the people down below as we watch this fight take out on height. Booga looking back for some angles with Stretch, but it's Bank and Says Lucky that end up coming through this tunnel that they cannot see. It's very deceptive to get that launch pad all the way up and around from height. They're going to be still going all the way forward. It's Paper Jamper, as you mentioned,
take it from here.
Still holding. They have position, but the investment, it's only 24 mats left, and they're finally getting focused. They're so high, finally find a reconnection as the 6th zone locks in the 7th. Does it bounce back? No, more investment is needed as Scented is still alive all the way on low ground. Booga and Stretch immediately move, find the launch pad, hit it off too at a cost of Booga's shield, as Vivid and Nano now have the opportunity to find new height. No, it'll be Booga Stretch who base up on top of them. Paper and Jamper have to catch up.
Yeah, they do, and they are going to do just that. It's a lot of teams building out the mid-ground layers so they can stay and maintain this high elevation, and also the split tarp. The fundamentals showing up good here for Paper and Jamper for Elam so far, and starting to rise up, and possibly another team that we should be talking about when the leaderboards come up at the end of this game.
And one thing to note is that every person you see below Jamper right now has some form of shield. Even if their solo is down, they're going to be sticky. If there's tax involved, it's going to take 2 shots, possibly a reaction time available to place a wall. Class is there, fighting for the top spot near the upper echelon of the leaderboard. We have Grandma Teets and Mikey, a duo, still surviving. Chap by himself. We saw AV go down. Going to be the focus of RPGs and finally get invaded by Grandma Teets and Mikey, making him drop down. Finally on low ground though is Booga. Stretch operating by himself, still high, has some points, has some materials and eliminations. Finally comes down with Booga. They're underneath everything, but Tristan Hip swips down below and gets Booga. Stretch gets taken out by an RPG from Mikey from down below, and Has is still alive as well.
Has still in this. Mikey starting to claw his way back in. One of the teams that also gets wins time and time again in final situations. Has, though, it does take him out. It's Grandma Teets by himself. Same with Has. It feels like it's all solos. I think one duo remaining as Grandma gets in the box of Has and ends that quick right there, but not before the top 5 comes flying in. Here it is now, 2 versus 2. As Nano goes down, make it 2 versus 1. It's Vivid down on the ground with no materials in the water. I don't think there's anything he could do unless he could find some mats. No, he does not get quick enough to hop in that box and get the refresh. It was an opportunity, a possibility.